is our tax abatement policies. Much of the reason we have gone down this path is because rather than increase wages, working conditions, and or environment, it seems easier just to import workers to help keep our community cheap rather than making them the improvements like other businesses. Tax abatements are a special privilege only to some. We have to recognize that many of the corporations that are causing the overcrowding of our schools and strain on their resources are also the ones that are getting those special privileges. It seems like we're actually paying someone to burden us. This leads to the second item that needs to be addressed, and that's the restructuring of JCIDC to JCEDC. We can't continue to let others sell our community short by claiming we're only an industrial community. We need to move past old ideas, and I can't say there's ever been more evidence than what we see now. I believe there are some talented individuals within JCIDC, and I hope that there can be a successful transition as we work towards a truly more inclusive community. As mentioned earlier, consequences rule the world. My next recommendation would be that local law enforcement agencies adopt the 287G program provided by Immigration and Customs Enforcement. This program would allow local law enforcement agencies to aid in the removal of illegal immigrants who commit crime. It's my understanding, and was somewhat confirmed, that currently you have to call it a Chicago or Indianapolis field office. Unless a detainee is a serious offender, they don't have the resources to care, and I think that has been backed up. While I believe the Jackson County Sheriff's Department should, While I believe the Jackson County Sheriff's Department should work towards a jail enforcement model, I believe SPD can also receive training as chief warrant officers. We need to make sure that these steps are encouraged to ensure our safety in the future. Also, along the line of law enforcement and attempting to get accurate estimate of the population, I believe the police chief has tried to maintain standards set forth by the FBI pertaining to the number of officers per population. I would ask council to use school records, birth records, trash, and sewer increases to help with your analysis. Mayor, you had brought up the trash was up 20% just last year. We can't go off of that, or we can't go off of a 2020 census when we see our trash go up just 20% in 1 year. I want everybody to keep in mind, our trash service does not go to apartments, correct?
Yes.
Which is a large population of those on Oak Street. So, lastly.
Okay.
Lastly,
you said lastly, so go ahead.
Lastly, which I think will only help propel our efforts, is the creation of a corrective action committee made up of elected officials from the city, county, as well as other peers and neighbors that have distinct knowledge and or experience that can help create a plan that will offer a balance to counter this Democrat dream proposed by Brookings that wants to make our community a migration destination. So I'd ask, Mayor, if you would, I would ask that you send some things to committee concerning tax abatements. I would also, I know the restructuring of JCIDC is beyond your scope. You are a board member, and I encourage others to contact the board members of JCIDC. I encourage Chief O'Brien, as well as Sheriff Meyer, to work on the 287G program, and I do want council to come up with what they believe is actual population of our community, because it's not what the 2020 number was, and I don't think anybody in here thinks that number was accurate either. So, if you would, Mayor, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the list, Dan Norris.
My questions have been answered, but if Jim Lucas would like my 3 minutes, he's more than welcome.
David Brewer.
I think they've heard it.
Come on, Dave.
That's cool, Brandon. Really, the only thing I got to say is I appreciate you listening to the people tonight. It shows that we have a voice. I had one issue, the city put sidewalks in front of our house. And my wife talked to your city engineer, and he said, you know, you got a good idea, but you had to sign off on it. She tried to contact you 4 times, and you said, well, sorry, that's a part of being mayor.
Who's your wife? Because I'm not sure.
And you
What
brushed me off and said, I'm sorry I don't have the time.
That's true.
I guess I'll go with I'm sorry, because I don't remember.
It's
Typically
on Vine
something-
Street.
Typically, something like that would be sent to our city engineer to review and go from there.
Yeah, well, he
So-
said to
He said
contact you
to
to sign
call
off.
you.
Okay, I'll see him tomorrow. I'll chat with him about it. So,
So that's why everybody's here. I think you see that we feel alienated by comments like that.
Okay.
Right? And another thing I got a question about is also in my neighborhood, and I don't want to beat on the Hispanic community, but they built a porch on an alley that goes into the alley.
have you?
Is there no permit on that? I don't care what they do, but you know, I built a garage, it had to be coming inspected 4 or 5 times.
What's the address, and we can have somebody investigate it. I mean, that's the,
We'll meet you
I don't-
after. I'll show you pictures what's going on.
okay. I mean,
But
that's,
nobody wants to take care of it.
But also, I mean, just bring it up on 11, north of town, north side of town. There was some shoddy work being built there. Nobody stopped to say nothing. Everybody here has to go through and get a permit, get inspected. I have a friend that has a business in this town who had to jump through hoops and almost moved his business to another town. They don't have to do that.
so where, again, give
I'm
me
not
an
gonna
address
mention his
to,
business or anything, but it just seems unfair, and that's why everybody's here pretty irritated.
We just.
so typically, if you can make us aware on stuff like that, I mean, you're telling me a place on 11. I don't remember any construction on 11 recently. So, but if you can
I think
help
it's
me with an
13th and
address, we
11,
can go
somewhere around there. It
investigate.
used to be a gas station, muffler shop now. The house that
So
they
we have
added
been
on.
fighting that for 4 years.
Well, it just
mean,
looks,
that's-
I mean, it's just, everybody here, if you do something, if you build a garage, it's a headache. And it looks to everybody here
We
that,
have been fighting that one and finding that one for 4 years. So for you to tell us that we're not working on it when we've been finding it, we've been fighting it, we've been waiting on their attorney to get back with us over some recent issues. We are working on things like that.
well, we
You
appreciate
mentioned-
that, but
You mentioned a porch on an alley, but I don't know what address or where that's at. So I mean,
South.
we do investigate these things, but we have to be made aware of them in the process.
I did.
And flip side, we don't,
that's on the
I
sidewalk.
did.
okay, who did you talk to?
She talked to the city engineer about the
Yeah,
sidewalk.
and they
No,
told
no,
me
no,
to
I
call
mean
you. I
the-
called you and you
the
brushed
porch.
me off and said, I don't have time. We need you to listen to us. Listen.
Somebody's got a theme back there. Anything else, sir?
No, that's it. Thanks for
Okay.
listening to everybody. I hope you did listen.
If you can get me that address on the one you're talking about, though, I'll be
Right.
glad to take a look at it.
Excuse me, sir. What's your current address?
I don't want to give it out publicly. I'll give it to you privately.
Thank you.
Hey, nice shirt too.
Yes. Next on the list is Deborah Atchison.
We weighed, everything's been talked about.
Okay. I have Pam Moss as a maybe. She's behind you.
Thank you for having this meeting tonight. I just wanted to talk about a couple real-life situations. I volunteer at the Jackson County Clothing Center, and I worked this morning, and anyone is welcome to come there and get clothing if they need it. All you have to do is show your ID, and we keep track of what you take out, and you're limited. So I signed up a lady this morning, and for her ID, she gave me a passport from Guatemala. So we write her name down as the homeowner, and then she lists all of the people in her household. And after she filled out the form, she had 13 people listed as part of her household. And I can tell you that's not an exceptional case, that's the normal case. We welcome them, we give them the clothing. I would say the majority of the people that come into the clothing center are non-English speaking people. The second thing I'd like to say is we really need to appreciate our teachers. I think you're putting all of our teachers in this town. You're giving them an unsurmountable task. Just all. I have a granddaughter that last year was at the middle school. And we talk a lot about school, and I'm asking her questions, and I ask her about, the Hispanic population in the schools. And she said, Grandma, I was in this one class and I had Hispanic people sitting all around me and they couldn't understand what the teacher was saying. And so the teacher asked me to help all of the people that were sitting around her. And she is an A student, a wonderful student, and of course she did it. But she said, then I didn't have time to do my work. So it's not just impacting, the teachers have a hard job, but the students, are they really being educated the way we want them to be? This affects their life. We need to be thinking about that. The only other thing I found online is an article about the Chicago taxpayer-funded migrant welcoming center. And I watched the video that a reporter was trying to make, and he wasn't allowed into the welcoming center. Seems counterintuitive. They tried to kick him off of the public sidewalk until police came and said he was allowed. This center no one was allowed inside except if you were Hispanic. It had all these huge buses sitting, running, and they were called warming buses that Hispanic people were allowed to go in to warm up. The reporter said, if you go a block down this street, you see another homeless camp with probably veterans, I don't know, but and they weren't allowed to get into these buses to warm themselves. So when I read this and read the immigrant center coming here, I just wonder if that's the way it's going to be here too. We've got enough homeless people in this area, and especially our veterans, but we need to think about them too. Thank you.
And I have one more on the list, and she marked yes or no, and that's Liz Larison.
I was going to ask how the city council stood on it, and I got my answer.
Okay. Thank you. That's the end of my list.
Into your list?
Matt. Matt, can I speak for just a second? As you guys know, and several people here know, I know a lot of you guys know that I'm a former police officer. The gangs are out of hand, okay? 10 times more than you could even imagine, okay? Number two, the amount of people that's living in the apartments, you can't even fathom the amount of people that's living in one single apartment. Okay, so, which brings us to probably the most important thing that we're missing here, and we just went through COVID-19 4 years ago, okay? When you're bringing in, now let's not do I hear a lot of they and them, okay? Because there's tons of good people here that's not American, okay? Tons of them, I know several, okay? But they're legal. The ones that are illegal, how do we know if they're inoculated for smallpox? How do you know if they're inoculated for measles? Okay, so myself, I'm after 1972, okay, and I don't have the scar, okay? You know what I'm talking about, right? And many of you guys know what I'm talking about, okay? So these guys that's coming here now, I'm going to say these guys, the illegals that are coming here now, we have no way of knowing if they're not. And we're already seeing a rise, of infectious disease. Measles. That's something you need to be concerned about because what we just experienced in 2020. Okay, so when the Europeans come over here, they wiped out colonies of people with smallpox.
So the one thing I would add to that is you have Americans who won't get their children inoculated as well. So keep that in mind. So, Mike Wright.
What about criminals?
They're shocked. They won't let my kids go to school. That's not true.
I'm Mike Wright. I grew up about
4 blocks on East Second. But, I'm here about public safety. So if you recall, Mayor, I was in your office on November 9th for about an hour about public safety. So 3 years ago, I was on the board of San Diego. I was a company commander, captain of 125 soldiers. Working directly with Border Patrol. At 29.3 miles from the beach going east. Captain Wright, I own that. Border Patrol. 4 months of Trump, 5 months of Biden. I kept the stats. Our drugs and illegals numbers quadrupled in 2 weeks.
Right.
Okay? I talked to the construction foreman, building the wall, he had 600 feet to go. He laid off 65 guys before he could finish that 600 feet. Okay? I'm telling you, we're under assault by our federal government. Failing us big time, and it's your job, Mr. Mayor, City Council, state representatives, it's your job to protect us against our federal government. This is a picture. These are pictures of what the cartel sent me. Captain Wright, quit working with Border Patrol, and go home. Or this is gonna happen to you and your family. Okay, a lot of guess right here. Decapitation shit right here.
Are you showing
Okay?
scene material?
This is real. This is real.
So the question is, as a small town, what do we do to stop this? How can we stop this?
And how do we know that if we?
It's real.
I mean, do we go back to the day whenever we carried shotguns and just start?
We
I mean, seriously.
discussed how you
what do
stop
we
it a
do?
few hours ago.
Huh?
Because we struggle. We can arrest you for committing a crime. Michael argued that you can't because we can't get a lab to test what he's looking for here in a little bit if he goes that way. But in the course of that, we need something from, I'm going to say above for lack of better descriptors, for us to be able to work with. Because if your local law enforcement is not allowed to enforce federal law, and it needs to be a federal officer to do such, then how is it that Chief O'Brien or any of our other 45 sworn officers are able to, and Mike said it possibly best just a second ago when he said we're, federal government. How is it that the local community, and again, we talked about this 2 hours ago. I mean, it was part of the conversation back then, when Chief got up here and talked. Mike, back to you though, sorry.
So, long story short, I've been to 14 countries. I've been to some of these third world countries, okay? Been on the border, got a little experience, 21 years, 10 Marine Corps, 11 National Guard, been in the middle of it, okay? I've seen the differences in our culture, okay? I grew up here, okay? Graduated in 1987, took 24 years to get my bachelor's degree in social and behavioral sciences, but had a little expertise, in fact, what I'm saying here, and facts. Facts matter.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what news channels we all watch, but it doesn't take much to realize in our small town that it's transformed. And I'm not racist. I put my hands in other people's lives, in their hands, and there's mine. And coach baseball, Hispanic boys, pick them because they're good baseball players, right? So the first person to say, if this is a racist thing, that we're against Hispanics, and it's not. It's not
Rule's
fair.
a rule, folks. 3 minutes.
Not tonight.
So long story short, okay, November 5th, my parents, 1968, they moved into their house on East 2nd Street. 1968, I was born in 69, grew up there. November 5th, a drunk foreign national crashed in at a high rate of speed into my dad's truck, pushed in mom's car, totaled them both. They flipped their Toyota Camry, okay? Had been going 60 or 70, just right down here on East 2nd. Okay, hit and run. There was blood DNA all over the steering wheel. They left 2 cell phones. Before the 2 Hispanic males left, it's like 3:30 in the morning, Saturday night, Sunday morning. And pretty upset, right? Because it's coming to our town. And come to find out that this guy, the vehicle was registered to, was arrested last March 6th of 2023 by Jackson County Sheriff's Department. Driver never had a license. He was able to do a pre-trial diversion agreement. Okay, he paid $254, but it didn't go on his record. Okay, he operates an LLC, Mexican car lot, right by the old Boys Club, between Boys Club and Ace Hardware. Is the name of the street, Bruce Street, I think. But he's still in business, still doing this. $25 fine for driving without a license. That's it, you know? So we've got to do something at the state level or the local level to fix this, okay? Because our federal government's failing us at such a high level. So I implore you, Mr. Mayor, City Council, state representatives, to protect us, because we don't know who to turn to. I mean, what's our course of action?
Protect yourself, Mike, protect yourself.
Yes.
Well, we know that.
We'll get help in November.
But you know, public safety is so much more important from our public servants than bringing in manufacturing jobs and bringing in anybody and everybody to work those jobs.
Right.
So,
That's very,
like
yes.
Brett said, you know, and some others said, we need to work at getting some other kinds of jobs here. We can't just keep bringing in the same thing. So, public safety, that's your number one job.
Mhm.
So, that's all I got.
Thanks, Mike.
I do have something I want to say. I'm going to say a little bit more than I intended. I've been praying about this situation all week, and I don't know, some of you Christians may understand what a watchman on the wall means, and I feel like I'm sort of a watchman on the wall. And anyway, so the Lord gave me a scripture to read tonight at the end. But I want to say a few things before that. We're talking about what you can tell I'm not a spring chicken here. I was born and raised here. I love Seymour. I love people. I'm not a racist. I am for people. I would help anyone in need. But I currently live on the corner of 3rd and Elm Street, which is 1 block up from the boulevards, and has always been a great community to live in. You're safe. Last week, it was late in the evening, I would say, around 5 or 6, I hear a commotion outside. I hear dogs barking, people yelling, and so I thought, well, what's happening here? So I go out on the porch. There's sheriff car down here, about a half a block. There's sheriff car down here. There's 5 or 6 sheriff deputies running up and down the street. They have drug dogs running here and there. And they're barking all down toward the end of my block, which is housed by a lot of, I don't know how many people live in that house, but usually there's 7 or 8 cars parked there. And those dogs were just going crazy at that house and the house across the street. And this went on, and the city police were also there. And this went on for about 2 hours. And it also, my nephew lives on West 4th Street, and he said the same thing was happening down his street. So I'm just saying, if you think this is not coming to your neighborhood, It's already there, you because that's better, my neighborhood. you better think again, because it is. It's not safe. I also read the entire 57-page thing. And on one of the pages, and I thought it was quite interesting, that there are 3 designated sanctuary cities in Indiana. Michigan State, Warsaw, and Seymour, Indiana.
Where did you
And
find
I
that in the
read
study?
that
Because
in
that's
one
not in the
of
study,
the-
ma'am.
In one of the papers I got, I should have brought it with me. And I thought, if we're a sanctuary city, why haven't we been notified?
Exactly.
So that's all I have to say about that. And this is what I think, this is what God gave me to say. And it's not something I would ever have found on my own. So it's Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 13 through 14. And it says, now all has been heard. Here is the conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind. For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether it is good or evil.
Amen.
And that's the word of the Lord. This meeting. Thank you.
Those cities are listed on page 6.
Page 6?
How about that?
We'll do one more comment from the gentleman in the back with his hand up.
I have one question for the council, Mr. Lucas, any of other representatives. Everybody said that our law enforcement can't enforce federal law. We have to obey our federal law. What can you guys, Mr. Lucas, you guys, do to help our law enforcement be able to enforce those laws?
Chief O'Brien, have you looked into the 287
I just looked at it when you said it. I brought it up.
Good, I
So-
really encourage that because that's going, ICE wants to work with local law enforcement.
So, I did look it up, so part of it's the jail part, which I'm assuming you guys have a 287 with that.
Yeah, we detain, like I said,
And then the other part is ICE would train local law enforcement to serve the warrants to take them down, the civilian warrants. The same thing, I mean, you're gonna detain them for 2 days, it sounds like. And
I think it allows you more leeway on that, being you're taking out. See what I'm saying?
I'm not seeing.
I just encourage having a look.
It lists them in the top right. Yeah.
What can we add to that to help them out? Because I don't mind legal. I'll tell people that's great, I love it. But if you're coming in here, you're just sucking up our jobs, you're making it harder for us to get jobs, bringing drugs in here, so that our young people are getting hooked on these drugs and not working, and then they're working our jobs. Exactly. How are we gonna better our community for our legal, for us?
It ain't about taking our jobs, it's about paying us more. You know, these guys need to pay us more.
Think about it.
You know, I mean, if you're paying $16 an hour and then a house is $300,000, how can somebody afford that? They can't.
Okay. You done?
Indeed, family.
That's a blessing. Well, at my age,
You guys want to continue entertaining questions, or do you want to make a motion to adjourn?
Very good.
Somebody do it loud.
Speak up.
No, let's go.
I can make a motion to.
I
We
just
have-
have
Okay,
one-
hang on a second.
It's brief.
Everybody, hang on.
It's brief. You guys took a lot of flack.
A lot.
Thanks for listening. But I hope the proof's in the pudding. Madam Attorney, you cannot set your cell phone. I won't be too long. 3 parts. 1, I hope that truly when you revamp this, You truly revamp this based on the public. But I want you to think about the fact that you can't force unorganic growth for economic gain, because the snowball effect of that is there's nothing left. I work in healthcare and have for 18 years. I can tell you in the last 2 years we've lost 10 providers and we've not replaced them. 10 providers at 1,200 patients a panel, do the math. That's a lot of people that don't have healthcare right now. The hospital's overwhelmed. You saw what happened in COVID. It's ugly, right? It's going to get worse.
A lot worse.
If we can't fix what we have right now and make it clean and streamlined, what kind of mess are we going to have if you just keep adding to, adding to, adding to? It's like a franchise that doesn't perfect their business before they build 100 franchises. You got nasty McDonald's to eat, right? Same thing. So if you can't fix it first and streamline it and make it clean, legal, correct, constitutional, then it shouldn't happen. And if you can't fix the ER and you can't fix the hospital, it's not ever going to be a perfect system, right? But you can't continue to overwhelm me because you're not going to have any good seasoned nurses left.
That's right.
You're going to get nurses that don't even know how to start an ID.
That's right.
You're not going to have any doctors. You're not going to have any nurse practitioners. They're leaving in groves for better communities that take care of them and appreciate them, and they're not overwhelmed by the Medicaid system, and they're not overwhelmed by needing 17 translators in one shift because we don't have it. And the same goes for the school systems and so on and so forth. So I would urge you, if you really want to revamp this, do it clean, do it right. Please, let Mr. Woods post it, front page on the Tribune when you're having your next meeting, so everybody's not caught off guard. I appreciate you said you put it in September, but
Mr. Woods did put it on the front page in September.
there are many people that clearly missed it. Right. Goes without a doubt it's been missed.
How many people
Okay.
get the paper?
Unfortunately, we don't look at your website, I'm sorry.
No, that's,
But-
I mean, that's what I mean.
But
though.
I would just highly encourage multiple advertisements so people aren't so frustrated to begin with.
And it was, man.
But I appreciate
Okay.
you thinking about it.
Everybody done speaking? If everybody's done speaking, I will make a motion to close Seymour City Council for the evening.
But if anybody wants to continue to speak, I'll also sit here and listen to whoever wants to continue.
Is there gonna be something? I'd like to say something.
Pardon me?
Is there gonna be something at the high school coming up?
Another meeting.
Did you stop it?
Do you want something at the high school? Mr. Mayor, is that all right with you?
I thought it stopped.
I mean, you guys have stopped it, so do you want to talk more about it, or do you want it stopped? I
If
mean,
they want to talk, I think we ought to listen.
so,
Let Steve talk. Let Steve talk.
So thank you guys for being here tonight, and this has not been easy for anybody in this room. I want to thank Drew for making the motion.
Yes.
In a second, and getting it passed. But I want everybody else behind me to recognize this is not over. It's not over because what we did was we stopped this initiative. We haven't stopped the process behind the initiative. So you've got to stay together.
Yes.
We've got to stay together. We have to, when it's in the paper or wherever it's at, somebody has to see it. You have to get on Facebook and we have to talk. So thank you very much for the motion. Thank you for the meeting. But the job's not done. My councilman's not here tonight. I hope he didn't have some kind of a family emergency. But at least you guys were here, and I appreciate that. And thank you, Chief O'Brien, for being here tonight. So the job's not done. Guys, the job's not done. We need to stop the process. I'm not against growth in Seymour.
Put our names on to organize as people, so that next time there's a meeting, we can get an email or a phone call.
Yes, yes, that would be great.
Get a piece of paper
Yes.
and put some numbers on it.
Let's get organized.
I'm gonna say just to be looking on
Small town
Facebook.
strong. Small town strong.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Can you put this on the Facebook,
Yeah, the city
Seymour's
council.
Facebook page, or? that we're for a meeting.
We always, yeah, it always goes on there.
Okay.
If I can make a correction, I was just told that Seth's job took him out of town tonight, so,
Yes.
my apologies to Seth.
So I have a motion and a second. Go ahead.
Question is though, are we going to do this as a public forum at another council meeting, or are we gonna set a different?
No, and
day?
I think it was at the school. is what
The school was what the conversation was. You guys tell me what you want because you've
Let's do it
passed
at
a
the
resolution opposing it.
Everybody can get.
Does it need more conversation or is it
Is this
passed?
dead?
So,
Is this done?
No.
they have passed a resolution that opposes the opportunity zone.
You
So,
yourself said it. Stop it, leave it stop.
Said it had no teeth.
I mean, do you want it sent to committee? That way they can discuss the pieces that work. What do you?
Stop, let it be stopped.
So, Jerry, do you want another meeting or are you comfortable with it stopped?
I'm comfortable either way, but you want a meeting? You want to stop it?
Tell him something here.
Oh. Let's have a meeting.
Yeah.
I don't think so. We'll have a public meeting at the high school at a date to be determined.
I will reach out to the school tomorrow and see when they've got available time.
Okay. Did everybody hear that? We're going to have a,
Matt is not a terrible guy. He loves our county, okay? He loves our city. What he's trying to do is bigger than what this is all about, okay? It's not just about the immigration. I'm with you on all that, okay? But if you stop the whole thing, you stop a whole lot of other developments that are gonna come to this city.
Dirty money.
Look at our doctors.
Whoa. Hey. Stop. Lady, would you be quiet? Hey. Jesus Christ.
Not one thing put towards building a jail. That's $15 to $25 million renovation.
That is also not a city function, sir.
It's not, but it is a result of what happens when you expand the resources of our community. The same thing is true with our schools. Nowhere in there is there anything for an increase in population with the schools. So there's a lot of things that left out of this little dream that don't add up. They're never gonna add up.
Aren't we already at max with, like?
Jerry. Jerry, what do you want to say?
We're going to have a public meeting at the school. If you go on the city's Facebook page, we'll have the date on there. It's to be determined at this point, okay? How's that? Yeah.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn.
All those in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.
What?